Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who make all of this amazing content possible for you all. Thank you, Folgers, for being a huge part of our journey. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, the Sonic Surgeon, for his sponsorship of our new intro and outro. You can find him on any music platform that's got good tunes, such as Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Bandcamp, yada, yada. It goes on. And he is an award-winning composer. Halloween horror, sci-fi, dark wave electronic music. Just the kind of guy you want at your party. Anyway, tonight we welcome for the very first time to the Outer Realm, Debra Lynne Katz. She's the author of You Are Psychic, Extraordinary Psychic, and Freeing the Genie Within. I just love that. Isn't it great? I love it. I love it. Tonight, you guys will find us on YouTube, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. We are on Facebook, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, Outer Realm, News on the Flip Side, Canada's Most Haunted, UFO Paranormal on Twitch, I believe we are at. I'm just reading, UFO Paranormal Radio and United Public Radio on Facebook. So that's where we are tonight. Hey, Michelle. Hi, Rachel. Hello, Bradley.
Hello.
So I know it's filling up. This is great.
Yeah.
So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's getting very windy here, though. I love it.
Yeah. It's always nice to fall asleep to that, for me anyways. That
It is.
rain.
It is.
I want a tin roof so bad. And people who have them, it's so funny. They're like, it's so noisy.
Night, yeah.
Oh, it's what I need.
I know.
Because I have it on YouTube, tin whatever rain, and just to fall asleep sometimes. I need that white noise in the background, and I would love that. I love tin roofs. My goodness.
Oh, I love it too. I love the winds. Here we can hear the falls, which is really like spectacular on nights where it's very windy, because it just like literally travels across and you could hear it for like miles. It's just so nice, you know. But then again, like it's a big house, you know, and then with the tower, you know, there's a little bit of panic because it's really high up. And when you have really high winds like that, you don't want to lose anything on it. It's got a lot of very decorative gingerbread along the top and wrought iron.
Hard.
And
yeah.
So, you know, just hear Wayne pacing around. I was like, you're okay, man.
Okay, what's falling off?
90-kilometer winds. Yeah. So it's going to be.
That's why we need a tin roof, because we lose shingles like crazy. Shingles don't last us like people in the city. You know, so it's just different. It's so open here.
Yeah. I don't know. I love this. I say I love this time of year going into the spring, because I love to see the robins. I love to see all the wildlife coming back, and you know, but I don't like the bipolar weather. So, you know,
the fact that we had sheets of ice today outside and it's going to be warm tomorrow is just too much. And it's understandable why so many people are getting sick. And for me, this time of year and October, November, the migraines are just unbelievable. I've had the same headache for the last few days, but anyways,
it's just persistent.
That's okay. I'll be getting my shots in my clenching jaw.
Man. Fix me up.
In a couple weeks. So a week Monday. So that'll be good. Oh my gosh. If I could have gone sooner, I would have, but I didn't want to interfere with other tests that I was doing. So
no, you don't want to do that. That's a very, very crucial. I've just sent off the link, so we might want to.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about her because you can
Yes.
find the extended bio, of course, on our page, The Outer Realm
Right.
Facebook group page. Debra Lynne Katz is our guest tonight, and she is an internationally renowned speaker and founder and director of the International School of Clairvoyance, the ISC, one of the first online schools in the world to offer interactive, small group clairvoyant training in teleseminar and webinar formats. Debra is an author of You Are Psychic, Extraordinary Psychic, and our favorite, Freeing the Genie Within.
I like
welcome,
that.
Debra Lynne Katz, to our show.
Yes. And we're just waiting on her.
Oh,
I have emailed, and she's basically said, yes, I'm all good to go. So it's like, okay, good.
okay.
And it's funny because, when Dr. Scott was on the show, I guess it was last week, having all the issues, he figured it out, and it was his browser. So he sent me a detail about everything he did, and it wasn't even Chrome. It ended up being something else, like the issues with Chrome, and bounced around. So he goes, you might want to just save this in case you have another issue with a guest. It was just the browser.
Because of where he is?
I don't know. Maybe he just needed to clear it or something. I really don't know. I have to have a closer look at that. But I'm like, oh, okay. So that's interesting. So we are waiting for her to come in. And this was sent like a little bit ago. So we'll wait and see. I find that interesting, the School of Clairvoyance, because
I wish I had one when I was figuring stuff out.
Yeah, but you know what? Like realistically, I don't know, School of Clairvoyance. I think some people just have it natural. It'll be interesting to see what her take is on it. Is this a God-given ability, or is this something that needs to be, tapped into and trained?
Yeah,
Is this something that we just need to be reminded how to use? There's a lot with that.
Yes,
So,
because I'm wondering if this course, like you said, is there for someone who is interested or someone who has an ability and doesn't understand how to use it? Because with me, it was mentors that you had, and I had some really great mentors, and I still have a really great mentor, Michelle. For me, it's that, but I wish that I had something, or that I could go to when I was trying to understand a lot of it, because I didn't understand what I was always looking for a label. And I think that's the worst thing you can do is label your gift. Wait and see to understand and explore it before you put a title on it. I was so confused. Oh, Zach. Hi, Zach. When I was younger, I would have dropped out of public school to go to clairvoyant school. I would have been down for that. And you were a teacher.
There we go. But here's a question.
I understand it, though.
Here's a question for you. And, because I know how it was for me. I had a very supportive family. So like my mom, especially, was very supportive. So when I was seeing things and experiencing things, I had someone that I could lean on. But what about for somebody like for you? You didn't have the full support.
Not from my mom, but I had my aunts.
Right.
That recognized
so you had somebody at least.
A little bit. More the dream, not a dream weaver, but the dream interpretation. I started to pay more attention because I daydream a lot. Being Pisces, we daydream a lot, but a lot of our daydreams, when you have abilities, you don't realize are visions.
Right.
So that part, they helped me understand. My one aunt helped me understand, but no, I didn't have like you did. No, I was told to keep my mouth shut constantly. It's not something you talk about. People are going to think you're crazy. We grew up in a different time. We didn't have paranormal shows. We didn't have the internet. I mean,
what age do you think is a good time to start? Because when you see, you see. When's a good time to start being guided with this kind of thing? Because I'll ask her also. Hi, Aurora. I'll ask her also when she comes on. I think she may be having a struggle. I've sent it to her twice now. This is starting to be a thing. But there's a lot of storms brewing in the States, so we don't know.
No.
So how do you, because I was quite comfortable with it. I seem to have an understanding of it.
It depends. Yeah.
From a fairly young age.
I mentored a lot of children. And Zach says, I had half support. My mom was very open to it. My dad was and still is the skeptic. See, it's funny. After my mom passed away, I found out my dad was the open one.
Yeah, see,
So I
my
sometimes
dad just played like he didn't, this is stupid.
No.
But meanwhile, as I become an adult, he's telling me all these paranormal stories that he's had and encounters. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
No, I know it always happens like that. I mean, he sought out a psychic to talk to a psychic about my brother and connect with my brother. And I was just like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
But my mom, I believe my mom was quiet and closed off because she was a devout Catholic. And she was, like, she was raised to believe that this is evil and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even so much as a crazy thing as it is the religious side of her beliefs. And I think that's what that was. I've lost friends because I kept my mouth shut for a long time.
See, I was kind of the other way, like within reason, because I was always pretty fearless.
My
So
hair's
you just
driving me crazy.
You see dark stuff, be like, okay, there you are, that's cool. I mean, some of it is, I guess I didn't talk about having an attachment or anything either. So I don't think people understand that, and I didn't even know really what it was. Just that there was a presence, and it took me to get used to that. And I guess you just become so conditioned to it that it's not a shock, but to anybody else, it would be a shock.
It was stuff like that was frightening for me because I always worked in the light. I didn't work in the dark until I met you. I mean, I saw things, but I didn't.
Right.
I never worked the way we work. I don't want to, to go into the way we work. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was, if you remember when we first started working together, I was petrified at first. I felt safe with you, but I was afraid of messing up and causing something. So it was that kind of feeling because I was so used to doing angel work and stuff like that.
But it's very different for you too, because like we both, like, I don't count what I do viewing. I could just pretty much tap in, but viewing with clairvoyance it's really difficult. You know what I mean? It's a whole other genre of ability. Here we go.
Oh, Aurora is a friend. Hi, Aurora.
Hi, Aurora.
In my family, no one talked about the paranormal stuff, although my sister and mom both had gifts.
Yeah.
All three of us had precognitive dreams. So did I and my mom, but we acted like it was no big deal and we didn't talk about it. I think that's the Italian crap in us, though. Sorry. But because that again, that culture and religion, Italians and Roman Catholic Catholicism back then were like this. It's not how it is now.
Right.
You were Italian, you were Roman Catholic. There was never a question.
Right.
Except for the few Jehovah Witnesses and evangelists that came about after, but it was a strong Roman Catholic, the Italians, a lot of Europeans. So the beliefs were different than they are now. I think for kids who are growing up now, who are gifted, I think it's a better time for them. And I believe that there's more acceptance, and I believe that they will do much better mental health wise than some of us had to deal and cope with. Oh yes, my very Italian and super Catholic. I know. I know you, honey.
I definitely think the religious mindset plays a factor in there. Culture definitely can play a factor in it. Some cultures are very, very superstitious, and they're just like no taboo. There's certain things you don't know, while you have other cultures who are very, they embrace it, and they actually walk you through it. They teach you, and it's just like, what, this is pretty cool. Like for me, I never felt really threatened by it. I was encouraged from the time, like I was very, very young. If I saw someone and described them, especially, going over to my grandparents, they would show you photos and they wouldn't tell you anything. Just always, see anybody here, and I would point out who it was.
My grandfather was great with me.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. My grandfather was great with me, but there was nothing I could do wrong, right? So it was a little bit different. He recognized his mother-in-law in me.
Right.
So it was that kind of thing, right? But no, he was great. And he wasn't a churchgoer, my no.
Right.
He was younger, and then after he just saw it differently, which was really funny because my mom had 2 sisters and a brother, and her sister and brother are still alive, and you know, they were, I mean, my uncle is a deacon and he was at the Duomo, like, you know what I mean? Like super, super religious. But I find it amusing that a lot of Italians are superstitious because it so goes against, see where culture and religion cross. That's another show. It's funny how that happens because really, as a Roman Catholic, you're not supposed to be religious. No, Rory, I wasn't lucky. I went through hell and back with my mother. That's a show on its own. But yeah, Michelle had the support at home. I didn't have any of it until later. And then my dad, the more I could communicate, especially with his mom, because my father was a mamolino, which is a mama's boy. When I could communicate with his mother for him, he was just blown away. And it was different. He was like my biggest cheerleader.
Right.
When you know, when I opened up to him. And plus you have to remember those last few NDEs that I had really brought out a strength in me that I couldn't turn off. And he was there waiting for me to wake up at the hospital.
Right.
So he'd rather have a daughter who, you know, can't close this gift than burying her. So
well, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay, Aurora. It's okay.
I mean, you know, it's funny because again, you go back to ancient times where these sort of abilities were actually sought out, like an oracle, which we would call pretty much a medium right now, or sought out by royalty. Yet you weren't supposed to know about it. They would just kind of sneak around and do it. Heck, half the time, you know, you had a lot of these monarchs who had one right there in the palace or the castle. You know, am I going to win this battle, or I want to just, you know, project energy. I just want to, you know, annihilate this person. I want to curse this person. Like, it's insane, the belief system. And it was, you know, prevalent. I mean, you could burn at the stake for it if you weren't careful, but it wasn't always like that. Even prior, you know, to medieval times. I mean, this goes back to pagan times. This goes back to the Celts. And like, I mean, this was really an embraced thing throughout many parts of the world. And it just seems that as we go along, it stems back to, is it religion?
It's funny because in the Italian culture, they still have that whole malocchio thing where you can throw negative energy someone's way. They end up with a headache because you're almost kind of cursing them. They still have that belief, and they believe that, you know, doing a certain gesture with your hands down is like making sure nobody can do that to you. They also have superstitions like if you say that someone's baby is super beautiful and you over compliment, they see it as you're trying to wish them unwell. So there's like that culture. Yeah. And I don't understand it because I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I find it amazing that it's still around today, that kind of thing. So it doesn't make sense. They embrace it, yet they don't.
You know what?
So I guess it's embraced away from the church. And then when you're in the church, but you don't step over a certain line because that darkness will get you, you know? There's the tradition of clearing that negative energy, that malocchio that it's called, the evil eye, the tradition of teaching to pass it on to the next person has to be done at midnight on Christmas Eve. There's an actual time. Yeah, is she here?
Device is not connected.
Oh.
And it begins.
Oh boy.
Oh, you're not connected. Her camera was blocked, but if we could even get her audio, it's fine.
Yeah.
I will let her know, just so she doesn't. I don't know what it is. Some people have real difficulty. Like they really struggle with this. Hold on here.
Yeah. Aurora North says,
here. Yeah, this is
the evil eye is strong as ever. They put out all those protectors on babies when they're baptized them. The cornetto, which is the pepper, the red pepper, red horn, the golden horn thing is on your necklace.
Yeah.
The gold one. Yeah. I know. It's amazing, isn't it? And it's still full force. I think they're afraid to drop it because they're afraid of what could happen. You know, it's just become so integrated in their culture and their lives for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just
like regular people will get a baptismal necklace. Italians get a baptismal necklace with a gold horn-shaped pepper.
right.
It's a pepper, but it's a horn.
Right.
And that's supposed to ward off evil. And then they pin little saints to you when you're a baby to keep you protected. So there's a lot of, that's where I see superstition, but I understand the relic side of it because they believe it's their faith to believe they're being protected by these saints.
Right. That's what Aurora was saying. That
Yeah.
Here we go. Right there we are.
Yeah, I read that.
On babies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just for people
the
who are
golden
watching,
horn, then they have the red one in there with the crown on it in their cars, you know.
Yes.
I have a rosary in my vehicle. I have a rosary in everybody's vehicle, even had it in my dad's. But you know, I can tell you like that the belief in it, I think is the mindset of it makes you feel more confident. What's going on?
I hear walking. I'm the only one here.
YouTube videos with grandmas doing evil eye rituals. Yes. But the funny thing, I don't like that they put that on YouTube because it's supposed to be sacred too. You can't pass that along. It has to be passed at a right day. It's only once a year from what I understand. And it has to be from someone who's done it for years. They kind of pass the torch down and they teach you how to do it. But everything coming out of their mouth when they're doing this is all light whispers. You can't hear anything that they're saying.
Okay, 1 minute here. I'm just trying to work with the guests while we're
again,
talking
it's okay.
This.
Again, is it really happening or is it the mindset of the person who believes that this is lifting all negativity and that makes the headache go away? So what is it? And I don't want to insult anyone because I grew up with that belief, but hi, Corinne. I'll entertain you in the meantime, Michelle and Amelia. It's supposed to be secret. Yes, it is. I find it amusing. I'm just like, what are you saying to my nephew's dad, right? My nephew's by marriage. His father does it. And my nieces wanted to learn for the longest time, but he always stands back and won't do it.
No, it's true. It is really... it is really difficult, I think, with that sort of stuff because you have to be really sensitive.
Like, and there's special prayers, like an exorcism,
right?
So it
is. It is. But I think if you don't tackle it, you know, with your child growing up, for example, if you don't tackle it, I think you can end up into some worse trouble. Because, you know, what are they bringing in? Inviting, oh, yeah, I see you. Yeah, come on, play.
Yeah, I know.
Don't
but
yeah.
It isn't Cosa Nostra if it's on YouTube. Let me tell you something. Cosa Nostra is not all of it. Cosa Nostra just means our thing. People used to call it Casa Nostra, and I'm like, yeah, you're wrong. But anyways, I'm not going to talk about that. There's 3, and that's just one of them. And it just whatever it's called just identifies the region where they're from.
Right. I think, you know,
when you hi, Tyler, Grandma's Rosary. Wow.
Yeah. I think when you have, it's like anything. If you have something that, you know, you believe in and you have faith in and it gives you strength, I think that's what you go with.
Yeah.
I'm on Try Safari. It's not supported. Yeah. No. Oh my God.
Aurora wrote, when I do public events, I get so many requests to help get rid of ancestral curses. Wow. That's really cool.
Hold on, guys. Sorry, I apologize.
It's okay. Michelle's just trying to work with our guests because she's having technical difficulties.
Yeah,
I had to get the last couple times I've had to click on it 2 to 3 times to get in.
Yeah. Ancestral curses are huge. And it comes down to, are you actually even looking at ancestral imprinting, or that's within your DNA, your actual physical DNA, like an imprint of sorts, a memory.
Yeah.
That's something as well, where
That's
people carry all this stuff and they don't understand it. Edgar Casey was really good for explaining things like that, along with phobias and fears. And
it's
you know
really hard to talk to someone who believes they're cursed if they
Mhm.
really believe it. And I never say they are or they aren't. I do believe in transference of energy and being
Yeah.
able to, of course, we are energy workers. I couldn't say I don't believe in that.
Mhm.
But it's always, like Michelle says, it's always mindset. You really
Mhm.
have to change it because there's no hope in fighting back. Tyler Barron says, I just moved into my own place. Should I sage and clear it?
Oh, the place? Yeah. Well, only if it doesn't feel right to you.
Yeah. And
I
if you
mean,
feel like you need it and it's something that makes you feel better.
again, it's really all about mindset and your beliefs. And if you are convinced, that something isn't right, and it's like clearing somebody for the first time that's had an oppression or an attachment for a lot of years.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to happen like that, where every little thing on the corner of their eye they think is something. Living in an oppressed situation is like living like a hostage. It really is. It takes you a while to realize, wait a minute, no, this is not a thing. But if you moved into this place and it does not feel right to you, it feels a little bit off, then go ahead and do it. Realistically speaking, the worst thing, or the best thing that could happen is you're just getting rid of somebody else's leftover energy, and past arguments or sadness, or whoever. Start fresh. And spirit
Yeah.
cats are cool. They should keep away the bad ones.
They're fun. They're
Yeah.
fun.
Spirit cats are awesome.
I'm not one to sage. I'm just, first of all, I hate the
Doesn't
smell
like
of
that.
it.
No,
I
she doesn't
hate
like
the smell of
yeah.
sage. To me, it smells like marijuana. It drives me crazy.
Really?
I get so
Don't say that.
sick.
People start trying to smoke it.
But I know some people will try to
What
smoke
does it?
I have friends who
You
really
heard it
believe
here
in
first.
it, and I've done it for them because there is a
Right.
method to the madness. It's not just about lighting it and walking around.
Right.
But I've done it for friends, but I can't do it in my house. I have other things that I do, and of course, being raised Roman Catholic, I had the house blessed umpteen times,
Right.
and I've done it with my mom. That we've done it
Right.
ourselves, and I am a firm believer in holy water. That's me. I'm very much Dean Winchester. Get the salt. That
That's
person. So yeah,
yeah.
I think like Michelle says, you have to do what makes you comfortable and what you feel.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate the smell of marijuana too. Yeah. Well, sage, to me, white sage smells like that. But I just can't stand the smoke either. Like, you have to turn the smoke alarms off. You have to. There's a
Make you
whole
more
thing to it.
spiritual. I have to put this up.
Yeah, smoking sage won't make you more spiritual. Just
No,
kidding.
not
From
literally.
Zach. No,
It's just
literally
like,
it doesn't.
no, no. I'm Roman Catholic as well,
As
Tyler
well.
says.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to go with what you're comfortable with, Tyler. If you think that, you feel that sage is giving you a fresh start and a clean slate, then do it.
There's a lot of really great incenses. Oh, there's dragon's blood, there's sandalwood, there's
Palo
cedar sage,
Santo,
cedar,
my
there's
favorite.
that's it, cinnamon,
Yep.
believe it or not. Like there's all kinds of different things. Like
I love
honestly.
those little incense things that you burn in the I
Oh,
have
yeah.
it right there too. Right behind me, I have the one with the cross on it. And I put
Yeah.
the charcoal at the bottom and I put the incense bit on top, and it'll smoke up my house. I'll just move it around the house. And it's Palo Santo that I burn, and dragon's blood, because those are the scents that I can live with. Yeah. Aurora uses Palo Santo a lot.
Yeah.
I like the smell. I have to be able to,
Yeah.
to live with that scent if I'm going to do that. But there's other ways of clearing a house. There's ways of, the energy by even just the actual opening of windows and letting the wind blow through one side and out the other. It's a feeling as well.
Right.
Yes, Tyler uses dragon's blood incense all the time. You should be okay, unless you feel that you need it.
Yeah.
You know, dragon's blood smells
Um,
really good. But I get slack because other people live in this house. So I'll get, comments from the peanut gallery. It smells in here. It's so smoky. Divorce
No.
clears the house, Corinne. Yeah, it does. She's not divorced, but it's funny that she says,
Yeah.
that clears the house.
Honestly, we have to start doing sound checks with the occasional person, but the browser is from her end. It's not. It says right
We're
on the
kinda
photo she
stuck.
sent me, your browser is blocking. It's like, I can't
And
troubleshoot
she's
it.
on
I'm
Chrome?
not a tech person. Yeah.
No, because she has to probably allow it in her settings. I
Yeah,
don't know what kind of computer does she have.
yeah. I don't
I'm not
know.
familiar with Microsoft.
I
And
don't
Michelle and I
know.
both have Macs, so
Yeah.
it's just so much easier, Joe.
I don't know. I'm just gonna see. If you can call Joe and see if he will answer to try to troubleshoot, because I can't troubleshoot from the being on the air. This is not an option, and it's disrupting the show. So again, guys, I apologize.
That's okay.
Honestly,
we get to have a conversation with our chat room, which isn't often, and I'm enjoying this.
I know.
It's nice.
I am going to just send Joe a message.
Yeah,
Basically
and we'll see how that goes.
Can you please give our guest a call, or she might call you, comma, to troubleshoot, comma, her browser is blocking everything.
Plus Michelle's talk to text, let me tell you, it never comes out the way she speaks. Just saying. No. Never comes out. Her and Joe.
Oh, it could be really bad.
You have to, both of you. You have to know how to read both their languages.
I know. It's Syrian. Oh, wait a minute. There she is. Hold on. Hold the presses. Yay! Oh my gosh. Start dancing.
Yay.
There you are.
Can you hear me? I'm on my phone.
Yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I've never done this on my phone.
I know, it's frustrating.
It's very frustrating. I don't know. It seems to be a browser thing in the computer. Every once in a while, one of the guests will have an issue, and when they whatever it is they do with their browser, I'm going to message back the one guest, say, what did you actually do with your browser? So I could just copy and paste it, because it goes,
you're
problem
good.
solved. I figured it out. It was my browser. And when I saw your photo, it said your browser is blocking. I'm like, it's the browser, but it's all from your end.
Yeah, it's weird because I was on Chrome, and when I go to system preferences, it has like Skype or other programs to select, but it doesn't have the StreamYard to select.
Yeah, it's been a little touchy the past couple weeks, but whereabouts are you?
Well, right now I am in Boulder City, Nevada.
Nice.
Okay.
Yes, I'm usually in Oregon, but I am traveling right now. So yeah, I'm right outside the Hoover Dam.
Wow, nice. Very nice.
I haven't been there in years.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's really pretty.
I have to officially welcome you to the show. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, you definitely get a prize for perseverance.
No, I'm sorry to leave you guys just like waiting to see if I'm going to show up or not.
Oh no, we just keep going on, just talking about everything that that will bring you in to talk about. So I'm glad, I'm thrilled that it worked out. This is perfect. So being that we're already probably got about an hour and a bit to go, why don't we just start off to get you? The show is yours. I want you to talk about whatever you want. We might jump in every now and then because we're the hosts, and apparently we have to do that. And at that point, Amelia's got a finger up.
Sorry. I'm sorry because I have people in the chat room are asking. We're not doing readings tonight. We don't do readings on this show.
We don't.
Because I don't want her to sit there and wait. Because I see her question, and I'm so sorry, but we don't do readings on the show.
No, sorry.
Okay. now that that's cleared and everybody
The
knows.
finger goes up. I'm like, what?
Yeah, my finger goes up
What are
because
we
I don't
doing
want to
now?
cut her off because we do
No,
have a
for sure.
leg. So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
no, that's perfect. So why don't we start off with humble beginnings for you with all of this? Because looking at your bio and everything else, it's just how did you get to this point? Childhood experiences. What was it like growing up clairvoyant, which is what we spend a great deal of time talking about. It's different for everyone. So the stage is yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, I have an identical twin sister. And so from a very young age, we were having different experiences together.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
just knowing what the other one was about to say just constantly, or if one of us was at a distance and was in trouble or something, the other would know about it. And sometimes we would have shared dreams where we would send each other messages in our dreams. So from an early age, we were really interested, really obsessed with this topic, and but we didn't know how to control it. We just knew that we would sometimes have these experiences. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I started to discover that you could go to school to learn how to do this. And
Mhm.
that was probably about 27 years ago now. So, I truly believe that everybody has intuitive abilities and they can be brought out. And some people start off with different levels or different types of abilities, but different ones can really be focused on and trained to levels that most people would never even believe that they could do. It's like any
Right.
other skill until you actually try to you have something to focus on, and then you have some techniques and approaches, you don't really know what you can do with it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that can be tough. That can be tough. Do you find that did you have support from your family, like your parents? 'Cause I think that would make all the difference with, with going through that sort of an experience. It had to have been scary as a kid.
No,
For
no,
some,
there
yeah,
wasn't a, I mean, it was fascinating. There
right.
was very little times it was scary because this was just, it was as normal as breathing or seeing or
Yes.
walking. It's, just part of life. So
Mhm.
it was a little perplexing that not everybody seemed interested in these topics.
Right.
But, like how could
Right.
people not be completely,
Right?
fascinated
What's
by
But
wrong
this?
with
see, you
them?
had your sister too, though.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
if you have a child, like I had a lot of support. So for me, I wasn't as panicked. But if you're alone and you don't have support, you don't even know where to go with it, right? Yeah, Amelia.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what it would have been like if it was only me having these experiences, but because I I almost always had them in conjunction with somebody else, they
right.
they weren't, except with the exception that when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I was having night terrors and something where I would wake up in the middle of the night and be totally paralyzed and couldn't move. And it would take me, several minutes before I could just even let out like even a little scream. And then I
Mm,
would be up for the rest of the night. And I had these every night for months. And
wow.
and I do believe there was some kind of psychic attack because of they would always start off with like just hearing the trees against the window, and then at some point, like I would never remember falling asleep, but I would see this figure that looked kind of like the Hamburglar in
Oh
Oh,
God, it sounds like a gray.
yeah, yeah, or what do they, either a shadow figure or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Hat
yeah.
Man. Have you heard about the Hat Man?
oh yeah, I
Yes,
see them way too
yes,
often. Thank you.
Really?
yes.
Way
You
too
Yeah,
have?
the Hat
often.
Man. Yeah, yeah. Shadow
I
Hat
want to
Man.
hear about that because it looked like he was wearing a hat and he would float towards the bed. And the next thing I knew, I was now like asleep but awake and paralyzed. And that always accompanied it.
But you know that they attribute shadow people also to extraterrestrial experiences. Like
And
some
time
people think
travelers.
they're time travelers.
Yeah.
Because everything you're describing sounds a lot like an abduction attempt The sleep paralysis, which obviously there's medical reasons for it, and the Hag syndrome, things like that. But they're associating like everything coming in sounds a bit like it could have been because
Yeah, I've had different readers over the years take a look at it without giving them too much information up front,
yeah,
and they have all seen that there was something like trying to get into my body basically, but they couldn't really, no one said, oh, this is exactly an alien or this is exactly what it was, but just there was
as a possible attachment.
it was something trying to get in when I was not in there, and there was definitely a battle. But it was interesting because I went to psychologists, I went to neurologists, they did EEGs, they did sleep studies, and they saw that I was having extra electrical activity in my brain. So they said it was registering as seizures when I was sleeping. So they gave me Delantin, and I was on that for about a year. And then the doctor said that he thought it would go away with puberty. And it was interesting because it did seem to get better after that. So, not sure there, with a lot of these things that seem to have like a spiritual component, but there can also be, psychological components or physical components
at
as
the
well.
same time, right? Did your sister experience this as well?
She has her whole life, but it wasn't as intense. She will just be sporadic, whereas for me it was every single night,
Oh
like
my
night
gosh.
for night for months and months. So in that respect, that was scary. That was scary, and I do still even now have to sleep with the light on. Unless like if my husband's in the room, I can have it dark, but I there's something about the dark I find really suffocating.
My daughter's like that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what can come out of it. I mean, it's not uncommon that, I mean, we don't sit in our bodies when we sleep. It would be like sleeping in the car in the garage. It'd be ridiculous. We obviously leave our bodies. Some people travel when they dream. It's not unfathomable to think that there are lower lying beings that would be trying to slip in, because some of them, even spirits, just want to have that human experience again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It may not necessarily, although that experience, it didn't feel right. But I think a lot of times spirits, they're not trying to hurt anybody. A lot of times they might just be trying to communicate, or they want to just experience what you're experiencing. And anything that shows up in the middle of the night, I mean, I sometimes it's scary, if your best
they're like
friend suddenly
stalkers.
showed up in your
Get out.
bedroom and you weren't expecting them to be there, that would be scary, right?
No, it
Yeah,
would.
of course, especially
would.
as a child. I mean, it's scary as an adult. My daughter's 25, still sleeps with the light on. Well, she'll be 25.
That's where
And
salt lamps are good though, because
she
they're
has one,
natural
but
ionizers,
she still sleeps with her lamp on her nightstand on and the salt lamp. I can't, no matter what I do, I can't do anything about it. She won't be able to sleep. If she's with me, she's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But on her own, so I can't imagine what that was like for you as a child, and for your sister as well, to feel so, you're scared. You don't know what's coming at you.
Right.
Well, I'd love to hear about your experience with the Hat Man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for another show, but we can do that on the side when we're not interviewing you. We can do that.
Absolutely.
But
yeah. Well, they're just, what we can say about them realistically is for like almost 20 years I've been working in the paranormal field, and a lot of sightings have come from shadow people. They're often seen. There's a lot of speculation with shadow people. I can connect you up with Mike Rixiger, actually, if you don't know who he is. He's written books on shadow people, including the Hat Man. And people have reported that seeing him, that the Hat Man seems to be more aggressive than normal shadow beings.
That's
right?
really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? My friend Diane, who's a longtime remote viewer, and we were driving today. So we were driving from Boulder City to Laughlin, and just in the car, and I'm just looking out. I was looking out at an airplane, And suddenly I had this flash of two giant eyes in the sky. And it was the weirdest thing. And I was like, I don't know what I just saw. I don't know if it was, I couldn't tell if it was a clairvoyant image or if I had
Mm.
actually like seen this flash, but it was like giant eyes just flashed. And I told her about it. And then a short time after that, well, no, maybe it was like an hour after that, she saw a lightning bolt in the same way, but she could tell it wasn't, there was no lightning, there was no rain or anything, but she had the almost exact same experience, but with a lightning bolt. So,
Wow.
there's always, we have no idea what that meant. We didn't have time to, psychically look
Yeah.
at it or anything. But
Right.
yeah, there's just so much weird stuff
There is.
going on.
You're always switched on. I have to say too, we have someone else asking for readings. No, this isn't
It's the
a
same
show
one.
for readings. Sorry. Sorry. But
Same person. I think she missed my
oh, is it
announcement.
more?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We don't do
Yeah,
read.
we don't
No.
know. But if Deborah does readings, you can find her at the end of the show. She'll tell you exactly how to find her. We can do it that way. Um, um, so basically you've gone through all of this and you decided that you're going to explore clairvoyance and you're going to teach other people how to do it. So how did you come to that level?
Well, basically, at some point, I started to do readings. I was doing readings in the Philippines. I was living in the Philippines actually, and my son's father was an acupuncturist. And in the Philippines, if you don't have money for your whatever you need to go into the hospital, like if someone's having a heart attack and they go into the emergency room, they will just turn them away if they don't have a complete payment for
Oh
their
my.
procedures down to the IV bag. So there
Oh
would be people
wow.
just like sent off into the parking lot to die. There was no other recourse. So my son's father at the time was an acupuncturist, and so he would, and an herbalist, so he would go and help these dying people, and then I would be using my clairvoyance because at that point I'd already been doing readings for about a year or so, but just for practice. But so we started working with all these patients that were in dire conditions, and I would do readings and energy healings on the people, and then he would do acupuncture, and we were seeing really really positive results. And then I was working. I moved to Sedona, Arizona, where I started to work out of a bookstore doing readings, and people would say to me all the time, gosh, you're so fortunate to have this gift. And I would say, well, I don't really look at it as a gift. I look at it as that I just worked really hard, practiced, studied, and got a lot of experience in a short time. And so I would start to tell them, how I did it and give and run them through techniques. And it started to get so cumbersome to try to just, teach everyone as they're walking out my door after an appointment. So I then decided I better put this into a book because I know there's so many people who want to learn this, but they would never be able to, like, they wouldn't live in one of the few places where they might offer training, or they might not be able to afford training, at a school or whatever. But, at the time, this was in 2004, there were almost very few books that told you step by
Oh
step how
yeah.
to
Mm.
go forth to do a reading on someone or get information about yourself. So there just wasn't very much out there. So I wrote my first book, You Are Psychic, The Art of Clairvoyant Reading and Healing. And then people were getting really great results from following the techniques in the book. And then that's when I started the International School of Clairvoyance. And I've been running it ever since. So, well, I'd
Mhm.
say like probably formally since 2005, I think it was. So yeah, now I teach clairvoyant reading and healing, mediumship, and then remote viewing, which is a whole different set of methodologies and a different set of a different focus. But
Mhm.
I
Oh
run online classes and have students all over the world.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's really cool to just, take someone who isn't even barely sure if they do have psychic abilities, and, not that long afterwards they're, off and running and really being able to help other people.
Well, I guess that brings me to the next question. Is this something that everyone is born with and need to be taught how to use, or is this something that you just literally have to be taught how to use? And we'll put this up just because it's just
because
awesome.
Aurora is
Aurora.
very accomplished, and she wrote, "Love your books."
Thank you, Aurora.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know, people, shoot, no, I just, what was your question again?
That's okay. I do that every day.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's been
Is
a
it-
long day. I had like 4 hours of sleep and I just drove hours.
It's okay, long day. Is
Well,
it something you're
just,
born with, or is this like, and
yeah.
you just have to be reminded how to tap into it, or is this just something that's truly something that we're not born with and you're taught?
Well, we are born with it. So I would have like 3 responses to that. So one,
Okay.
a lot of times we're already being psychic all the time, but we just don't realize it. You
Right.
know, what is creativity, or how do you suddenly have an idea that you didn't have before? You
Right.
know, where did it come from? So much of our thoughts and our emotions are actually coming from other people, but we haven't been taught that's how our bodies work. We're told that we're closed systems, that we only get information through thought and logic, but
Right.
really we're open systems, and some people are more open than others.
Mhm.
So it's coming in through our imagination, through our creativity, through our bodies, our sensory systems, a lot of times how we feel, or our physical sensations. You know, people who are empathic or empaths, that's really what that means. They're picking up on information through their body
Mhm.
that's coming from other people. And so many people have this going on, but it's totally unrecognized. So there's that. And then there's people who are having spontaneous, very intensive experiences, you know, where they have a vision or a dream. So that's going on. But then there is so much room for, I believe, almost anyone. There are some people that are more blocked, or the way that their minds work or personalities work,
Right.
they have a really hard time. But that is really the exception. When I have a class, like say out of 10 people, there's going to be like usually like like 6 people who, you know, like are moderately good right away. I
Mm.
mean, after say a few classes, and then there's a
Right.
couple of people that are extraordinarily good, and then there's 1 or 2 people that are very blocked. But those that stay with it and continue to practice and, you know, learn more techniques, but the practice is so important. You really see there's a learning curve, and they really show improvement. So that's why I'm convinced that I'd say like maybe about 85% of the population, you know, if they just know what to do. Like, so much of this work has to do with attention and
Mhm.
where you're putting your attention and what you're doing with your body and your focus.
Mhm.
And, you know, a lot of people just have never even tried, you know, tried to access information. They wouldn't even know how to do it. So there's some very simple exercises, and depending on which methodology, like I teach multiple methodologies, but depending on which methodology you use, one might be visual, one might be writing, but just
Mhm.
knowing to get started and knowing what you want to like focus on. That's a big thing. Like, I'll have people who tell me, "Oh, I read your book and I meditated, and like I'm feeling so much better and so much more focused and grounded, but I don't feel like I'm having success psychically." And then I say, "Well, okay, what are you trying to read, or what are you focused on?" And they're like, "Well, nothing." And I'm like, "Well, if you're
That's your
not
problem.
focused, yeah, like
Right.
it's not like you're just going to sit there and suddenly, like, what's supposed to happen? Uh,
Right.
things aren't, I mean, sure, you might kind of spontaneously in the moment, you know, hear what your husband's trying to get in touch with you or something. That might happen, but it's really more about like you need to, do you want to look for your lost wallet? Or do you want to find out about somebody you just met? Then you need to focus on that person. You
Right.
know, it does work in alignment with our regular attention and perception. You know,
Right.
if you, it's like if you
Imaging.
wanted to read a book, you have to open up that particular book, right? Like you can't
That's right.
read a
That's
book
right.
by opening up other books.
You have to
Yeah, you need to
invest
tap
in
in.
something, is what you're saying. Something's got to
Yeah.
be there. Okay. All right. We have one question before we go too far. Hold on. There we go. With your
Oh, Tyler asks, is it a gift or a curse?
right. What
I'm
am I
getting a
hearing?
lot of feedback.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
It's okay. It could be any one of us.
Well, yeah. I'm not touching anything. That's all I'm going to say. So, is it a gift or a curse to you? The
Well,
ability.
oh, it's mostly a gift, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like, is our sight a gift?
Right.
Is our eyesight a gift? Well, most of
Yes.
the time, yes. But when
I
I
agree.
got into Las Vegas and the sun was shining and, it was like burning my eyes or whatever, I wasn't like too thrilled to, have
Right.
eyes. So, not everything I look at is beautiful. Some things are
Right.
pretty horrible to look at. So, but overall, this is about being able to access information about life and being able to see, the truth of oneself and other people. And so for people to, not want to have all of their perceptual
Mhm.
faculties for the
Too.
for being able to access these, if people don't have these, they are at such a disadvantage. Are we really meant to go through life blind and deaf and dumb? No,
Right.
we're not. I mean, we are really meant to make use of everything that we have. And I really feel like so much of the population is not living up to their full potential. And I mean, some people might, you if you ask somebody, like, if they hear distressing news, or maybe like there's somebody that they knew and they find out something disturbing about them, like
Mhm.
some people might say, oh, I wish I never knew this about this person. I wish I never knew this person was a child molester, because that's really upsetting. But
Right.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. For me, I agree with you. I mean, it would be like going through life blind. See, Amelia, you just had a whole other sound when you were not. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
No.
off.
yeah,
My mic is off.
No. That's what
Sorry.
I'm saying. Your sound was completely different than this one, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's okay. No, I agree with you. It would be like going through life blind. Once you have that ability, I think to not have it would be really, really difficult. I would not want to trade that in. But if you've never had it and you don't start out that way, and all of a sudden you develop it, I imagine it would be pretty shocking as to some of the things you would see or experience.
Yeah, well, there's an adjustment once you do start to open up, and whether you're reading people and you start to see energies, where I remember I didn't even know what reading energy meant, or when I was reading people, there were lots of things that would start to emerge that
Hmm.
I wasn't trying to see spirits, but spirits are around people, so they would show up, even
Hmm.
though I was not trying to see spirits.
Hmm.
So, and sometimes I would see kind of nasty ones, or sometimes I would see how different energies were in a person's energetic field, and creating difficulties for them. So, there's a lot of things, but this is probably what any paranormal researcher deals with as well, where you
Yes.
start to be exposed to things that you never heard of before,
Hmm.
the things you have to deal with, some side effects. So, I would like to say, like, oh yeah, it's not a problem. There's, no side effects, or no, but there is a lot to deal with. It is true,
Yeah.
and this would be true for therapists too, right? Like, it's a challenge to be a therapist, even a non-psychic one. And you have to
Right.
learn how to deal with the human condition. And in this case, we're dealing with the human condition and the subhuman
Right.
condition, spiritual condition.
Right. See, to me, the fact that you are even in parapsychology is interesting because, you know, parapsychology, it's very, very scientific. And being clairvoyant and, having all of these abilities, remote viewing, That's got to be really tough. I mean, I'm very logical minded. I'm very, I'm probably a skeptic with some things. I believe in the process of elimination. Don't just take everything at face value, cross reference it a million times till you come up with literally nothing. But parapsychology is a lot more hardcore. How do you balance the two? Hey, Alex, Tamara, how do you balance the two?
Well, remote viewing, when the term is used within its historical context that it came from, remote viewing was developed in a laboratory, and it
Right.
was developed by scientists who were working with the government, the U.S. government, to help develop some protocols so that military personnel could use their psychic abilities for operational purposes, such as helping to locate hostages and to tune into the enemy and to
Mm-hmm.
describe weapon systems and things like that, and also to
Mm-hmm.
understand what the Russians and other foreign governments were doing with their psychic programs. And this was all starting like in the 1970s going through the mid 1990s. So
Right.
remote viewing was actually developed, one of the core people, Ingo Swann, who developed it in some of the protocols, such as controlled remote viewing. Um, he defined remote viewing not as just a synonym for clairvoyance, but instead a scientific protocol or methodology. So
So
in
it's
remote
not it's not a natural ability, what you're saying.
well, he said this the psychic part is natural, but there are many components to making use of your psychic ability. So
Right.
it's the design and the setup. So in a psychic reading, you're focused more on getting information for a person and tuning in spiritually. And so the setup for a psychic reading, people are different. But for example, if I'm reading someone, these days we're over the phone, and I try not to know too much about the person up front. But I might know their name or their gender. We're on the phone. I don't like to look at them on video because I don't want visual cues, but we're talking on the phone and they might ask me a question or something like that. So
Mm.
sometimes I know some information up front. But with the way remote viewing is done, it wasn't for reading people. Again, it was for these other applications, such as looking for things and describing weapon systems and stuff. So the viewer would work with the team. They would be blind. They would be oftentimes double blind. So they would be blind to a target. They would be working with a monitor or manager who didn't know like what the subject matter was.
Right.
And then the viewer would do a session. It would go down on paper, and then that paper would be analyzed by an independent analyst who would like rate the sessions and then take it to the client, who might be the FBI or the DIA or the Army or Navy. And so that's a different setup, a different protocol than one would use just doing psychic readings. So
Right.
that protocol is a scientific protocol, and other parapsychological um, experiments are set up in a similar way. Like even if maybe you're not using remote viewing, but you're using dream ESP, which would be having a dreamer and giving them a target and saying, we want you to tune into this photograph when you're asleep in your dream and describe the photograph. And so then
Right.
the person, wakes up and draws a picture of what was their dream. And then analysts come in and take that picture and compare it to a set of photos to see if an independent person could match their dream transcript to the right target. So that is a parapsychological setup as well. So you can take any psychic ability, and it's not that the psychic ability is scientific or not, it's just our perception, but it's how you're making use of that ability, which is then determining whether or not you're being scientific. So paranormal, I know you yourself like have gone out on lots of investigations, and a lot of your uh, listeners are also paranormal researchers. So the way that that's conducted, it can be conducted in a very scientific manner, or it can be, and a scientific manner oftentimes comes with blinding factors and feedback factors. So if you go into, let's say, a house that you know nothing about, and like I'm just thinking of a setup off the top of my head, like if we wanted to test something out, I might choose like 4 different houses, and maybe one is known to have paranormal activity and the others aren't. And so if I wanted to test you, I would make sure you didn't know anything about this, that you didn't know like what the whole thing was about, but we'd go to 4 different houses. We'd have you, do your thing, and then we'd see what results did you get for each house. And then we can take your data and match it to what's known about the house. And, hopefully you would be, having these experiences at the house that was actually known to be haunted. So we can set things up like that. But conversely, we could have a setup where you've heard from 10 different people, the type of spirits that's supposed to be there, who's supposed to be there, and, have you go in with this whole storyline, and then have you come out. And if you, just say, yeah, I got the same thing everyone else has, that would not be looked at as being very scientific, because there were all these variables we didn't control.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to read Tamara's, if that's okay.
That's
Sorry.
put it up.
Am I still making?
I don't know what the noise is we're hearing.
I don't know. I just changed ear sets. I reset everything, so I don't know where it's from. Tamara says something which I really wanted to read, because I am a natural remote viewer. I've had these gifts my entire life. There isn't really much that I'm unable to do. And I'm not saying that with a pat on my back. I mean, like, there's things I can't move objects. I can't bend anything. Tamara says mediums and sensitive people have been using remote viewing for centuries, but it never had a name for it. Government made a program that they could teach regular people to be able to tinted view. Yes. I just posted that that film on my oh my gosh, Third Eye Spies. I just posted that. So if you want to learn more about the government programming of it, I do have that film on my timeline. It's free. But yeah, that's something that I've always been frustrated, because I didn't understand why I could tap into anything. And I worked a lot of crime and missing people, because I can see from left to right and all around. It's a little bit different. It's not easy. It's not easy to live with.
Yeah, and the movie Third Eye Spies is a great movie, and I have friends in that movie, and I highly recommend it. And then also, I have a new book on remote viewing. It's called Associative Remote Viewing: The Art
I
and
need
Practice
Yeah.
Outcomes for sporting events, horse racing, elections, and the lottery. So it's teaching, both teaching and covering the formal research and informal research, where remote viewing and psychic abilities have been used for practical applications with predicting future outcomes. And we have chapters that cover the parapsychology history. We cover things like what's a remote viewing target, and the whole history of target selection and different scoring and rating and analysis systems. And my favorite chapter shows sketches from remote viewers, like extraordinary matches of what they got visually with photographs that they were attempting to tune into that they'd see at a future date, and things like that. So people,
very cool. I like that book.
Get that on Amazon.
There we go.
Hi, Alex.
Hey,
Alex is asking, how difficult is it to learn to remote view? Alex has a radio show too.
That's right. Yeah. There we go. How difficult is it to learn how to remote view is the question.
I'm having a little hard time hearing you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. He says, how difficult is it to learn how to remote view?
It's not very difficult at all. It just takes a lot of practice.
Right.
There's so many different, it definitely helps to take a course, whether you take a video course, you read a book. It's always helpful to have someone giving you targets and
Right.
leading you through the exercises. So I teach a remote viewing class. There's several teachers out there. So a lot of times people will have success right away, but what happens, so by success, they'll have a mixture of accurate perceptions about a target, but they'll also have distortions and what's
Right.
called analytic overlay, which is where you turn something in, like you might see, let's say, if you had a photograph of a motorcycle, like you would probably, even starting off, have several people who are tuning into it, like they might say they see a bicycle. Like let's say it was a motorcycle, but they might think they're looking at a bicycle or a car, or get a sense of something circular, but not get that it was a motorcycle. And maybe one person would get that it was a motorcycle, but people will sometimes have not sometimes, a lot of times have quite a bit of distortion initially. So a lot of the training has to do with learning how to get to lessen that distortion. You're never going to like totally eliminate it. So even like the very best, most well-known remote viewers, it's still, who've been very well researched, it's still been determined that they will, sometimes have extraordinary successes, but there's also going to be like a degree of incorrect information.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, I had a student this week in one of my classes. I monitored her in front of the other students, and the students chose the target. And the target, I was her monitor, so I led her through the session. It was a 2-hour session. So sometimes if you're going to get a lot of details, it can take a long time, and not everyone has stamina or discipline. But the students chose the target of Neil Armstrong taking off in the space shuttle and landing on the moon, and there was a whole video that showed that. And after 2 hours of us going through these different steps, my student Kristen Dodd, she had named Neil Armstrong, described a space shuttle taking off. She had a sense of a mission, and when I had her like probe what the mission was, she got it, that it was the moon landing.
Oh, cool.
All on video. We've got her session, and this happens all the time. Really.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty remarkable that she got like all aspects of the video. And it did take a while because she was initially going into some incorrect data, but after doing this for a while, like I could recognize. And this was the thing, I was blind to the target too, so I didn't know what this was. The students chose it. So even when she said Neil Armstrong, I was like, it's probably not Neil Armstrong. Maybe there's someone like Neil Armstrong. So I was like blown away that she got Neil Armstrong.
That's exciting.
That is very exciting.
I would love to learn how to do the government programming remote viewing and see if I can turn off my abilities and do it that way. I'm very interested in it, in the sense that's why I put Third Eye Spies up there for people who aren't familiar. I thought it explained it really, really well. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's so cool, and that's the thing that I love is myself as a remote viewer. My friend Diane, who I'm in her hotel room right now, she's been a remote viewer.
Oh, hi, Diane.
She's been a remote viewer for like a couple decades, and she's a fantastic remote viewer too. Like there are so many really great viewers, and we have so many experiences, and yet we never get bored of when we see a great example. That's the thing. It's like people say to me, well, why are you surprised that someone else did so well? Like, aren't you even just getting bored of this already? And it's like, no, how can you? You're never
It's
bored.
so fascinating how they can just tap in from something so small and come up with the whole narrative. I love it. I find it very interesting.
Well, it's interesting how they did an experiment with 5 viewers just to tap into the moon outside of Jupiter and different, moons, planets, everything. And the viewers all found that there was life there, that there was a extraterrestrial base there. And they were told nothing. and they called it.
Well,
It goes
so
outside the realm of the planet. So people, you can go outside the realm of the planet.
yeah, well, with Jupiter, Ingo Swann and his colleague Harold Shermer,
Yes.
and this was maybe in the 1980s when the satellite or the telescope was going to Jupiter, and they knew
Yes.
that they were going to be describing Jupiter, but what they wanted to do was see if they could get information before the telescope came back with the images.
Mhm.
And yeah, sure enough, they saw the rings around Jupiter, and at the time it was not. No one knew that there were rings, and when they
Right.
first got his data back, they just thought he had done a bad job, that he wasn't describing Jupiter, because how did he get
Right.
these rings? Even the Carl Sagan, who was a really well-known scientist,
Yeah.
he said like,
Yes.
no, there's no way there's rings around Jupiter, and then sure enough,
There
the
was a
images
ring.
showed there were, and that was something that really amazed so many people. And I think that's a really good example that
It is. They've just replicated that his experiment though. They've just done it like last year or something. So they've done it again and validated a lot with what he saw then and more now, because I mean, how many decades was that?
yeah, and there's so many things like that, because we constantly have the sending the, what is it, the Artemis mission is going to be going back to the moon. That is the moon, I'm pretty sure, the Artemis mission.
Yes.
And so what are they going to find? Anywhere you're sending people for the first time, it'd be such a great project for remote viewers or psychics or anyone who could get information.
I would be interested in anybody who wanted to view the moon, because there's so many different theories. Like some people believe that there are millions of people inside the moon, extraterrestrial and human. That's just like, I guess there's a reason why allegedly they weren't allowed to go back or colonize, because maybe it's already been colonized. I don't know, but I would love to hear more on that. I think it would be fascinating to see if people could actually tap into that.
Yeah, exactly. That there's so many fascinating things to use remote viewing for, and
Right.
yeah, just endless. Even with COVID, myself and many other remote viewers and clairvoyants, for that matter, were tuning in to see like what was the cause of the virus, what was going to be happening with it, how were the vaccines safe. Same thing with the situation with Putin and Ukraine right now. What is Putin going to do next? What's going to be the best course of action? There's the real life issues that are and problems and discoveries. There's so much that we could be using our psychic abilities for. I think it's great. I mean, my day job is reading people and helping them with their lives and everything. But, a lot of times people get pretty narrow with what they think psychic abilities are used for. And, there's so many applications. And I really feel like, we so often the only way we're going to be able to get information is in this manner. So that, at least in the present moment with our limitations of our technology, where, you can only measure something if you have the instrument to measure it, but your consciousness is not limited to the same restrictions. And so
I agree.
It's really, really exciting. We're in exciting times, that we can hear so many people talking about these things in books and shows like yours, and just more and more people opening up to it, at least in the Western world. In other locations they were already open to it.
I agree with you. Your fingers up again. I guess it's sponsor and okay, go for it.
We have to always make sure that we thank them. You're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Our special guest tonight is Dr. Debra Katz. We are live on 105.3 FM radio in the gorgeous city of New Orleans, streaming on YouTube's tonight, UFO Gods Extraterrestrials
That's
Radio.
the one.
Yes, and we won't go into the reason why the other ones aren't up, as well as all the Facebook pages for all of our groups, Canada's Most Haunted, and of course, The Outer Realm. We want to give a massive thank you to our sponsors from day one. Thank you, Folgers Coffee. The best part of my day, night. Folgers is it. Without your support, we would not be able to do this show. Thank you so much for being there for us and supporting us. Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, also known as Justin Snicker, for our fabulous intro and outro. You can purchase his music on Amazon and Bandcamp. Find Justin on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And I have to say hi to Mama LeBlanc because she just came in. And hello to everyone.
Call me crazy, but it really sounds like there's a lot of voices actually coming through right now. This is going to be one of these shows. I think everybody's going to be streaming through their EVP programs or something.
It's driving me insane because I turned my mic off. I've turned everything and it's
EVPs,
still.
Stacey.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to mute myself. No, it just stopped. I was going to try to mute myself, but...
Do we have a radio on or something? It's just like, I don't know. It's strange.
Here,
she's muted and it's gone, so it's her end.
So it's all with you. The sound is gone.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't know. Who are you sharing space with?
I even opened up a new earplug.
Yeah, who are you sharing space with?
I'm still hearing it even though I'm muted. Are you still hearing it when I mute myself? Like now?
When you mute yourself, no.
I'm still hearing it even though
It's all Tamara, it's the aliens. Yeah, man, something. I don't know.
No, it could just be interference. If you're in a hotel, it could be anything.
They're tapping in someplace. I don't know.
Could be the stand shaking it too. Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be one of those segments that everybody's going to be downloading just to see what's going on.
Okay, let's tell the aliens they need to stop this now because it's annoying.
They never listened before.
I know. I know. We're not all unnerved by aliens. Sometimes it's okay. You know, we get used to them. So,
yeah, no.
Sounds like ET chatter. Christine's had many experiences with ET chatter. Hello, Christine, all the way from Australia. Stacy
yes, she
says,
has had a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Aurora says something's keeping us company. Very possible.
Sounds like a bunch of gremlins.
Gremlins. Yeah, Ghost in the Machine. Oh, New Zealand. I'm sorry, Christine.
There's a big difference
on that. There is a big
difference.
There's
a big difference.
Friends in New Zealand.
They get very upset. They get very upset.
I know. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we try to get back on track here. So basically, you have people who are. I'm still listening. Sorry, I'm completely thrown off. It's getting quiet. Okay, so there are people who are trying to communicate now, and on average. So what prompted you to get into, again, I'll go back to parapsychology, because to me it's just very, very baffling to me as a clairvoyant. Does it contradict something? Like, if you're going in, let's say you're examining a case file, everything in here is saying this is what it is, but you have to scientifically bring it out. Because, over 100 years of parapsychology, I don't even think they've ever proven anything, according to parapsychologists. So I didn't just pull this out of my,
What was the very last thing you said with 100 years?
Oh, I said in like 100 years of parapsychology, they've not really proven anything per se. And this comes from parapsychologists, because I know many.
No, that's not true at all. There has been so many convincing studies, and there's studies that are qualitative. There's experimental studies. The the experimental trials have oftentimes shown statistical significance.
Right.
A lot of times because there's so many variables, like it's not that high, but there is like no doubt from the research that there is a psychic effect, and
Right.
even if it's like at 53 percent with in terms of like forced choice studies, so Zener card experiments, card guessing experiments, remote viewing experiments. Oftentimes it's higher stats, qualitative research where so many people are surveyed. There is extensive evidence. So yeah,
Do
I'm
you
not sure
think
what.
it's technology that helps with this? Like in these studies, what maybe we just didn't have before? Technology?
As well, it's a matter of the research is out there, the evidence is out there.
Right.
There's no the people that study this are actually are really in agreement. Now, if you're talking to skeptics, the thing is,
There we
if
go.
you're talking to a skeptic, who, and not just someone who thinks logically, but someone whose entire life force is directed at not believing this,
Right.
there's very little you can do to convince someone who doesn't want to believe. And there have been so many demonstrations of this is such a huge field, so we're covering so much territory here. But
Yes.
let's say like an example of a medium that's doing just an incredible job, whether mental mediumship or physical mediumship. There are so many cases where there have been like dozens of researchers in very controlled conditions, and to their satisfaction, not seeing fakery, not seeing trickery, not seeing any other explanation for things. So there's so much out there, but the problem is most people don't read the research. They're like, when you go to a parapsychology association meeting, there'll be like at the most 120 people there,
Right.
and it's kind of the same people, whether like I'm a member of like 5 different organizations that do parapsychology, and I'm also the president of the International Remote Viewing Association at this time, and the co-research director of their research unit. And you just find that most people are not like reading the studies themselves. They couldn't tell you the names of the journals, they couldn't tell you the names of people who wrote the articles or anything. So the information's there, it's just people aren't finding it or reading it. And I think it's kind of like disclosure with UFOs. There's so much evidence.
Yes.
So we were talking about this earlier, like what is it, at what point do you say we've had disclosure? At what point do you say we've had enough proof? Well, we still have people in life who don't believe in evolution, or who don't believe that there's such a thing as racism, or who are Holocaust deniers. So, it's all the same thing. You're going to have a certain number of people who don't want to believe, they don't have the information. But
I think when it comes to sorry, go ahead. I would say when it comes to disclosure, I just think that people don't trust the information more than anything. It's a little bit different than parapsychology because the government or the military releases everything they released was a preliminary disclosure. And most people, there's people out there getting better stuff on their camera phones, which is, you're kind of going, geez, like that's pretty compelling. Whereas, as opposed to looking to a little, TikTok video sort of thing. It's just very, I think that people just question it. And it's like Tamara said, Amelia, do you want to get this comment? Can you see it? Oh,
I forgot to put my mic back on. Tamara says it doesn't matter how many experiments, it's whether the general public accepts it. Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's like what you're saying. People aren't reading it. So therefore they have to.
Some people are afraid of it too.
Well, yeah, there's, and you know, a lot of it is religious leaders who believe this is the work of the devil, and they tell their parish the people at the services to just stay away from it. So you actually find that it's not even so much scientists as it is, you know, religious leaders and people, you know, following those. And, you know, you have some of these mega churches where you might have a Sunday service of 10,000 people attending a sermon where the spiritual leader, you know, they haven't read the parapsychology, you know, journals. They don't really understand what they're talking about. They're just spreading fear and confusion around the subject. And then, you know, these people, of course, so many of them have their own intuitive experiences, and then instead of like celebrating them or wanting to look into them more, they're afraid of them because they were told, you know, this is just the work of the devil. And
like as opposed to psychokinesis, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mega churches do have to be. I won't go there. I'll get so many emails.
Get the hate mail. I know.
I'll
You can't
get
be
so
dipped in
many
a
emails
religion.
if I
People
say
get really
anything.
hostile. It's true. No, it's true.
Mega
I think
churches are a different level.
It is.
It's not, you know, the people, and it's not really the religion itself. It's just some misguided people that, you know, I say, like, most of the time when people are giving like information that is just not correct, that they're just uninformed. And I've met my husband, when we first met and he found out like what I do, he said to me, you know, you seem like such a nice girl. Why would you do something like that? You know, why would you be into like just something that's, you know, fake or defrauding people? And I was like,
I've heard that.
I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you need to understand that you're just uninformed. Like, you just have no knowledge of what this is about at all. And he totally backed up and he said,
watch it, buddy.
And, you know, it's taken him a little while, but he, you know, he's there so often when I'm doing sessions, when I'm teaching classes. He sees the progress.
You've educated and enlightened him to your ways, so to speak. But
but you know,
takes time.
Within research right now, the parapsychologists, I mean, this was already pretty much decided at the end of the remote viewing programs in the 1990s, but the overall assessment was we are done with needing to prove this. What we need to understand now is how to make use of it and how to improve upon it, you know, how to understand how it works, the mechanisms behind how it works. You know, every time you have to spend any energy, and I would say this is true of, you know, us as like psychics or paranormal researchers or anything, anytime you have to even spend 1 minute talking about, is this real or not? You know, how do we deal with skeptics? Like we just, you know, had this conversation for 5 minutes, you know, which it comes up because you do have to deal with it. But that was just 5 minutes of time that we could have spent, you know, helping people to, you know, bring this out in themselves, or just seeing, you know, how can we improve on what we're doing here. And this is a big problem. Like Dean Radin, who's one of the top parapsychologists in the world, he wrote The Conscious Universe and so many great books. Well, he says he was trained at Harvard and Princeton, and he says he has spent like 90% of his career dealing with issues around skeptics and having so many distractions. You know, we cannot continue to have like our most brilliant minds or our most brilliant psychics, you know, wasting time on this. But of course, we've got to address it to some extent, you know, but this is the problem. And you find this paradox or conundrum that when you go to try to learn and set up research that does have to do with like, how can we make this better or understand how it works, there's always the question, well, how correct are the psychics or remote viewers? Were they on target? So you find this weird thing where you're trying to move away from proving, but then you do have to say, well, were they even being psychic at all here? You kind of have to assess that as well. So it's a very complex subject, but I think your question, like, a lot of people do think that there's this difference between, doing psychic work spiritually or scientifically.
Right.
And I don't think, I don't think, we have emotions and we have thoughts, right? And both can exist within our same bodies and selves. Sometimes we're more logical, sometimes we're more emotional, sometimes one gets in the way of the other. But we have both of these things. And I would say it's true with our spirituality and our scientific selves. And, both are needed, because I know, we don't want to be uncritical. We don't want to say we're being psychic if we're being logical.
Right.
We don't want to say we're seeing aliens if it's just an airplane.
That's right.
And there's far too much of that. There's far, I mean, it's really over the top that I go to different, UFO events, and everyone looks in the sky and sees something and says, oh, there's a UFO. And,
you're like satellites.
I've never seen anything.
Satellite.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. My
husband's a pilot, and we have a little Cessna, and, we fly all the time, and the sky is just so loaded with airplanes and drones and satellites. And so, and then, you put on night vision goggles and you see how lit up the sky is with them. So it's like, I see a light in the sky. There's no way I'm going to say that's UFO unless I have, I've ruled out everything else. And I think people need to be more critical, because that's what a lot of people are responding to, when they want to stay away from people that are UFO enthusiasts, because they're seeing that a lot of people are not critical thinkers. I totally, like, I have incredible photographs of orbs, and I've psychically tuned into orbs and had so many experiences with them. So I do believe a lot of orbs are of a spiritual nature, but I also know a lot of orbs are dust particles.
Dust, standard, pollen, moisture.
Yeah. Especially if you're outside.
I've been with friends where we spent an hour chasing around dust particles around our house, not knowing that's what they were. And then we got out, like someone sat up against a pillow, and then we were like, oh my God, look at all those orbs. And then we were like, wait a second. And then we took the pillow and started to shake it.
And it's like, there we have it.
So, this is what it means to think critically and scientifically, just rule out everything else. And then we can at least say, we can't say for sure.
Process of elimination, right?
So yeah, we need to, to think more critically as well when it comes to these things.
When you're getting, I would say when you get, examples for people, if you want to research it, would be the Philip experiment, the Skoll experiment. Those are a couple of really good research or good experiments that people should research if you're not familiar, because I found them just fascinating,
Yeah.
So sorry.
Definitely. The Philip experiments, the Skoll experiments were like some of the best evidence for physical mediumship. There's a documentary on that. There's so many really great ones. And
those are really well done.
If I could just give a plug, I am going to be doing a class with Joshua Lewis, who I believe is going to be on your show in the future. He is an APC researcher, instrumental transcommunication, where he does all sorts of, EVP work, but work with photographing water, images in water. He just sent me last night these incredible photos of
a lot of ITC stuff that he does. Yeah.
He was in front of his baby monitor, because he has a baby, and he was in front of his baby monitor and filmed it. And they're all these faces. It's not just what's it called?
You can do it with security cameras. This house was empty for 4 months while we weren't here, and it would set off the motion detectors, and you would see these big orb it would float by. It would come out of a mirror. It would go up into the lights. I've got hours of the stuff, and no forced air, so it's all radiator heating. Nobody's walking around, no animals, nothing, no dust. There's nobody here. And one of those times was around New Year's Eve. So we figured the original family must have been preparing or something, because for about 6 hours, it was nonstop. And you'd see double orbs just going in from one room, going to the other room, and we'd just be just like,
Wow. Do you have that posted somewhere? I would love to see it.
No, but I have no issue sending it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to send you some. Yeah, if you really want to see them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could tape them in 2-minute segments. It was just incredible. And some of them, when you blow them up, you can see full-on faces. But it's curious how they'll go into the mirrors, or sometimes they just shoot up into the lights. Sometimes they come out of the lights. Security cameras just catch great things.
Yeah.
But Amelia, you were going to say something also.
I was going to say something just silly, because you were talking about how they're dust particles, and we've had this conversation a few times, and people really want to believe that every dust particle is an orb. And I'm like you, I'm quick to make sure it's not something else first. So my niece sends me this video, and Michelle knows the story, and it's her dad's, she's niece by marriage, and it's her dad's birthday, and they're singing happy birthday, and she goes, oh my God, why is this orb over Michael's head, her youngest? And I'm looking at this. She says, I go, send me the video and I'll take a look. And if you're listening, hi, Tanya. So I
not dissing you, Tanya.
Not dissing you, but she was grateful when I watched it. What she's doing, and a lot of people often do this when they have their phones. Well, she's singing happy birthday. So what was happening? It was a reflection from her camera over her son's head. There was never an orb. But because they're so conditioned by media and television shows right now, paranormal shows, to believe that everything is something. Right. She was scared. It was fear. It wasn't she was reaching. She was scared. She's like, well, why is it only on his head? Like, what? She was starting to think something was trying to attach to him. And she was so grateful when I said to her, it's your flash. You got the light on and it's just reflecting. And you could see it as she's singing happy birthday to you. It's going with the song. Yeah. Sometimes it's the easiest, simplest things, but I'm fascinated by orbs as well. I love looking for faces and trying to communicate. I think they're amazing.
And colors.
Yeah.
Often you get colors.
Well, you might be interested in, so Josh Lewis and I are going to be teaching an 8-week class called Piercing the Veil, and it starts on April 11th. And you can learn about it through my website at debrakatz.com, debratz.com. And he's going to teach all of us, including me, because I do what I call mental ITC, like I tune into the spirits that go through this equipment. But he is very experienced with all the different types of equipment. So anyone that's interested in learning how to be a paranormal investigator and how to set up, everyone's going to learn how to use the camera equipment and recording. They're going to learn how to analyze it so they can tell the difference between this noise and voices and things like that.
That is so good.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
That is so needed today. So necessary, because too many people are believing that they're being educated from television shows, and they forget that it's primarily entertainment first.
Yeah. So we're gonna, really help people learn how to set things up well and to analyze it and to question it and see all the different examples of, how spirit can work through the equipment. So, and then also what you can do with your mind mentally and visually to help facilitate that. So, we don't know what's going to show up or how things are going to be, but it should be pretty interesting. So people could check that out. And
I love that.
Yeah, I think he's on at the end for everybody interested. Let me double check because we book way in advance. I believe he is coming on June 30th is when he's on.
He's really an amazing guy. He's so devoted to this work, and he's doing like this work every single night, and he's always sending me the coolest things. So, you know what? I wish I could stay on, but my
we're coming to the end, and yes, and you've done everything that you're supposed to do, which is promote yourself. So we've got the website and everything else, and we're about ready to sign off too. So thank you, and sorry you had such difficulty coming on. It was just a whole lot of chaos, but I'm glad you made it, and I thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time away.
Get some rest.
Yeah, get some rest.
I so much appreciate you having me on and spending this time, and just both of you doing all the work that you're doing out here. You're making such a difference in people's lives. And
thank you for having a school, for doing these courses. They are so necessary in this field, and people like you are so important in this field. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I have to give a plug for the International Remote Viewing Association. Yes. If you want to learn more about remote viewing, check it out at irva.org. There's a lot of practice opportunities and good resources.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye now. And the voices stop. I guess it was all with her.
Interference in her hotel room.
I know, a whole lot of crazy, but I'm glad everybody's enjoyed the show. My gosh, it was excellent. Just a whole lot of information. And we do want to thank her for coming on. She was just really delightful and taking time while she's away for her downtime. So we're very appreciative. And we thank everybody in chat. You guys are just always so much fun. So again, thank you for tuning in. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring us tonight, every night. And huge thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of the intro and the outro. A little reminder to, if you want to message us directly, please, the only place you can message, outerrealmcontact@gmail.com. It's the outerrealmcontact@gmail.com. Can't keep up with anything else. Now, tomorrow night is going to be a really sensitive show, and it's not, I don't know if it's going to be on YouTube. It's yet to be determined. We're going to have Penny Shepherd on, and Penny is just really delightful. She's a real sweetie, and she's going to be discussing her life in MK Ultra, maybe some satanic Hollywood. There's a whole pile of sensitive topics, but topics that, again, sort of an awareness thing, but it's going to be not for everyone. So just heads up, sensitive show tomorrow evening. Okay. So tune in. And if you're not going to see it, if it's not on YouTube, it will be on Facebook. So just watch for it in the usual Facebook channels. And with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Good night.
You have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.